Vicky Karuga, by the end of the day, we count our steps. Just move. It doesn't matter how you're moving. So let's move. A bit more energy. Some of us are just doing this. Make sure your legs are moving at least. They're not stuck on the floor. Hakuna mtu anatoa style tufuate.
Guys, this song is a South African song and it's take a photo. So I want you guys to have some energy and then you will actually take a selfie. Put it on your LinkedIn, keep it on your phone, whatever. So guys, phones out. This is a memory we don't want to miss. So everybody, selfie. If you don't know how to take a selfie, if there's someone who's looking like Gen Z near you, they'll teach you. Okay, guys, okay, let's just, whatever you're feeling. I'm not seeing some people with phones. And get a partner. Yes, here I'm loving what you guys are doing. Partner up. Selfie. Catherine. Rose. Yes. Take your photos, partner up, even 3. Oh, you've taken, awesome. And remember, the hashtag is WOBN 2025, whether it's on your LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you are, put the photo. Catherine, the volume is low. We need energy. Yep. You've taken your photos. Awesome. Dance. 1 more minute. We don't want to sleep. I like that corner, Julia and crew. Yes. I'm seeing someone who's going to teach us. Come. You, stop looking behind. Come. You, come, please. I like you have some moves there. 20 seconds. Teach us a move. You are doing it so nicely there. Dance. Teach us. Come here. Whatever you are doing there. Let's follow. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. The ones with 2 left feet. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can settle down.
Post those selfies on your LinkedIn.
All right. Ladies, let's settle down. Dr. Adeni, please come over. Dr. Adeni, please come over. We'll have a small exercise here with Dr. Adeni, and then we move to our next speaker.
Good afternoon. Put your phones away. Put your phones away now. Save that picture or video or whatever it is, and just sit nicely. Nobody ever thinks about you if you don't think about yourself. Nobody ever loves you if you do not love yourself. So we just want to be aware of ourselves. We just want to, acknowledge who we are. And just relax in yourself. Have you ever relaxed in yourself? So sit nicely, sit relaxed. Nothing in your hands. Look at your hands and appreciate them. When did somebody ever tell you that you have beautiful hands? Okay. Now, there is a small exercise that, being a psychologist, we always say that psychology is in everyday life. So everything we do is psychology. And therefore, every exercise we do, we have to ask ourselves, what are we learning from it? Okay? So I want to just allow you to do a very small exercise. Follow my instructions. Okay? Follow the instructions. During COVID, we never shook hands, isn't it? How are we greeting each other? Hi, or we got, but we never greeted shaking hands. Even ourselves, we were scared of ourselves. The left hand was scared of the right hand, okay? But I come from a city of champions where we have always to greet. We always have to shake hands. And even during COVID, we believed that when I, vigorously shake my hand, another one will have known that I have actually greeted them with a lot of love. Okay? So this is how we used to do in the city of champions.
To do, I guess I have a big voice, you can hear me, isn't it? Yeah. That is what I want us to do. And when you greet yourself like this, don't release the hand. Greet and leave it like that, not like this, but like that, okay? So I'll give you the instruction. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Now, check the thumb. Which thumb is on top of the other? Right one. If you have the right thumb on top of the left, please stand. Please come this way. All answers in psychology are right.
The left, don't release your hand. The right thumb on top of the left. Don't come if you are right, if the left is on the right. All answers are correct. Now, let's have the left people here. The ones who have the left thumb on top of the right. Wacha tu tusimame hapa. Left on top of the right, here. If you have forgotten, do it again. Then you check. So these ones here, the left is on top of the right. These ones here, the right is on top of the left. Now, we'll learn a bit of psychology. If your left thumb is on top of the thumb, it means that your brain that is more active is the right. If the right thumb is on top of the left, it means that left brain is more active. You act more with the left brain. These are people, when we say we are coming to Mombasa, we just come. We just come. We just want to have fun. We can even come, and when we arrive, we say, where are we going to sleep? These people here, this Wanga told us we are coming. These people didn't think of the women on boards first. They said, how are we doing? Where shall we sleep? What are the air tickets? ticket. What are the charges? This one, we just go. Now, we are finishing the exercise in your house. In your house, in your place of work, house, in your place of work, everywhere you go, you will never miss the left and the right, because both of them spheres on our heads, isn't it? You will never miss them. You need these people to make life active. You need them. You need people who are concerned with process. So, these ones, you have crossed. These ones is, let's just go. You need these people. You need people to take. Also need people to check us, ask how, step by step. Okay? Now, as we go to sit, try
Clapping the opposite.
She's my colleague. Me, I ask so many questions. I don't hear many. I'm like, what's your problem? We are going. And her,
So let's sit. Let's sit as we continue thinking about the exercise. Appreciate everybody, isn't it? Appreciate the left-handed people in your room, in your house, in every place. Appreciate, because we all matter. Thank you so much.
yeah, isn't it? That was nice, eh? Though, me I'm a left-hander, but I'm a planner to hell. You know, I planned to the last IMT, so I was surprised to be on the other side. All right. I like the energy in the room, and I'd like now we go to our afternoon conversations. And the first one, we are going to speak about the psychology of influence, semi-psychology of influence. How leaders can inspire, persuade, and lead with grace. This will be done none other than Vicky Karuga, the MD of Profiles International. Woohoo! Yeah? With extensive experience in helping organizations to align people's strategies with business goals, she works with leaders to harness emotional intelligence as a catalyst for engagement, performance, and sustainable growth. Her methodology blends data-driven insights with empathy, neuroscience, and practical leadership tools, equipping leaders to inspire their teams, strengthen organizational culture, and achieve lasting achievements. Vicky's work has influenced leaders across industries, shaping high-impact leaders' practices in Kenya and beyond. And I am happy to say I am actually an ongoing student in the Genus EI certification class that is being run by Vicky. So welcome, Vicky. So all this bubbly energy, I will tone it down soon.
No, please don't. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing? Oh, that's my next slide. Okay, so. So me, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. I speak like a teacher, so I like seeing what I'm talking about. So yeah, I think you have I've been introduced, and I think I work a lot with various leaders in the area of people, the soft issues. So John Gomez kept saying the soft issues, which I really think are not the soft issues. I always say that people are not a smart objective. They're not specific, they're not measurable, they're not attainable, they're not realistic, and they're not time-bound. They are a strategic objective. Because they can show up today like this, tomorrow they show up the other way, depending on how you communicate to them, who knows whether they'll actually get what you meant. And so we work with organizations, but we like to say our purpose is to spark meaningful conversations and reflection. So we do a lot of work with assessments, psychometric assessments. The exercise, I like the exercise for the left thumb and the right thumb. So really asking organizations why we exist. And I know we can't lead from purpose, but I remember when I went to business school those days ago, I was told that a business exists to serve a need. And I think that's the purpose. And if it serves a need well enough times, yeah, then it makes what? A profit, right? That's just how it was. But I think then we started seeing what this profit is doing for everyone. We started chasing the profit and forgot that the profit is a process of serving the need, serving it to enough people, serving it as many times as possible, and then you do what? You make the profit. Yeah? Anyway, so skip next slide, skip next slide, skip next slide. And let's go to how leaders can inspire, persuade, and lead with grace. So I'm going to base this talk, and I think, let me put my timer on just some of the things that I have seen in my work. And because of the area of emotional intelligence, it has meant that I really observe leaders who I think embody it, and I see what they do, and I'm going to some of those examples here, so that I'm speaking from both experience and also from conversations that I've had. Just the other day, in fact yesterday before I came here, I was with a team of leaders heading 9 countries, 10 countries. You know that thing you say, you know, I'm in charge of the region, I'm in charge of 7 countries, I'm in charge of I don't know how many countries, and of course they had their group CEO with them. And they kept telling me, you know, Vicky, we are the Isht. You know, I'm trying not to use a bad word. No, yeah? It is us. We're the ones who are making these things happen. We're the people who are pushing the agenda. So what do you mean when you tell us that we have to start listening to other people and what they have to say? Yeah? Because, I mean, this company has done really well, right? So therein, we did an assessment, and some of them came out. Actually, the entire group of people, 90% are what we call very controlling people. Their personalities are dominant, they tell, they speak, they drive, they achieve, they are competitive. And that means that in that team, what is being validated is what? The same habits. If you don't have those habits, what happens? So they had like one person who really, really listens. And the person gave a testimony and said, I embraced who I was, and I realized that for me to be able to make a difference in this team, there are certain things that I have to do. So what's the first thing we do? We grow in self-awareness. We cannot lead if we're still trying to get approval. So if you do not know who you are, if you do not know what your personality is, if you don't know what your strengths are, if you don't spend time deeply reflecting, then what happens? You aspire to certain values, you aspire to certain things, right? I know, for example, when I was young, I thought, and I keep giving this story because it was a big aha moment for me, I thought my family was my #1 value. And then I found out that it was like number 3 or 4, yeah? And you can imagine for a woman, it fills you with guilt if you're not clear on where your values are. You keep thinking that there's a problem with you because you're focusing on what? On other things. Where should you be focusing? On family, right? right? So you keep holding on to this value called family, but really there's something else and somewhere else you want to be. And so having that deep conversation with yourself that I really like being an ambitious young girl. I love it. Give me all the money in the world, I'll still find my way out of this home and get somewhere else. And then being aligned to that is what really gives you that freedom, so that you can step out like yourself, like yourself. I have also seen women who are in great positions of power, and something happens to their life and they don't take the time to also think about it, because our values also change with time, right? And what happens is that what happens to you in the background comes out. Suddenly you're seeking approval in the boardroom. Suddenly you're not talking in the big meetings. And because you haven't had the work to find out why, yeah? Why is this happening? So self-awareness, beginning with your identity, constantly asking yourself, who am I? What am I evolving to be? What is it that I really want? Why do I even want to be on a board, like someone said? Am I really the right person? Or am I chasing a dream of something else? Which is fine. If it's money we're chasing, that's fine. But then let's be clear, it's money, not purpose that we're chasing, yeah? That's the thing, right? So that when you go there, you're not even conflicted. Mimi niko hapa kwa sababu ya pe. Msiniambie mambo ya pa. You're not conflicted at all. But there's no two sides there, you just decide. So leading with influence, you have to be present to yourself before anyone can ever even read your presence. Because you're not seeking anyone's approval. You're not molding yourself to anyone. You have a changeless core, so to speak. Yeah? And that there is where I think 90% of the work is. You know those mental shackles that John was talking about? I think a lot of times when I speak to teams, they're very quick to embrace the nice things about yourselves. But what about the things that are not so nice? Yeah? So when someone tells me, Vicky, report, hapa nakubali, lakini hapa si mimi. Na hapa pengine si mimi. Me, I'm not like that. So there are two sides of the coin. And for example, then how does that self-impact itself on what you're trying to do? One of my traits is that I am very introverted, and that really, really reduces my business development capacity. And I hate it. And I know I have to get out of myself, and I have to build that muscle. So what do? I surround myself with people who will help me get out of that comfort zone. So we have to look at the nice, I can as well stand here and say, I'm such an introvert, and then get so happy about it. But then that introversion has an impact. But when I lead or when I speak, I know that if I'm not careful, I might start doing the laugh thing, because I'm very uncomfortable. And start being that nicey people pleaser person, which I am. And that might take and then. Huh? Not serious, you get, yeah? So that's another impact that I'm getting. Yes, I have all this knowledge in my head, but I seem like a bubblehead, right? So case in point, I'm in a boardroom, and I can't speak. What do people think? What do they say? What do they say? So we have to first get into ourselves the power of self-awareness. Do the work. Check your values. Check your values every so often. What am I really about? They change over time. Second thing, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah. My slide master is learning to read the room. Yeah. And understanding that people react to you as a person first before they react to the message you have to say. How many of our communication comes from words? Huh? How many? Yeah, 30. So like about 90% of our communication comes from our gestures, the subtitles we wear on our faces, the tone of our voice. True. That is why when you start somewhere, you know what needs to be said and you know what gravitas or whatever seriousness that message needs to be given, you change yourself, yeah? So do you read the emotional cues coming from the people around you, whether it's in leadership, a boardroom, whether it's at home, or do you come in with your personality the way it is? You know, this is the way I am, this is the way I should be. So learning to read the emotional cues, understanding the messages you're sending as yourself is really important. Next slide. I should have a clicker so that I can click, yeah? And the next slide. So mirroring people. You know, salespeople know this. How many people are sales here? Yeah? I think sales should be taught in first year. Yeah, because who are you selling constantly? Yourself. You're constantly looking for brand presence and all those things. You should all be given a sales course. Some of those things sound like you're manipulating others, but you're really not. You're putting yourself in the best light possible for you to achieve what you want, right? So, read the room, understanding the emotional cues, understanding you yourself and your subtitles and your everything, your hair, like for example, myself, my hair communicates certain things when I'm in certain spaces, yeah? So, and not blaming the other people for the perception that they have of you, because you have that impact. Slide number 3, can move to the next one. Now, what do we need to project when we are leading with grace or having conversations with grace? What do we need to project? What do we need to project? Anyone at the back, what do you need to project? Yeah, from an emotional point of view, what do you need to project? There? Empathy? What else? Your values? What else? Yeah? Confidence. Did you say confidence? You said courage. Yeah? What else? Now, we don't always feel these things. In fact, if you're a mother and then you're a wife, as the panel was saying, you have so many things that run through you. Notice why I think also EI is another thing that needs to be taught at the very beginning of your career. You have so many emotions that run through you at any single time. And we've never gotten into the habit of asking ourselves, what is it that I'm feeling right now? And what is the truth about that emotion? Where does it come from? And then, what is it likely going to make me do? Because you know emotions rule us, yeah? And a lot of the decisions we make, in fact, we make emotional decisions, then we look for the logic behind it, you know, we give facts to support the emotional decision that we made. That's a fact, actually, yeah. So, if you're going to project calm and confidence, if you're going to ensure you enter any place, any conversation, and do it with grace, then you'd better be taking care of yourself. You can't do it when you're stressed. When you're stressed, your bandwidth is like what? You react. It takes a lot of mental energy to pause. You know that you say pause, yeah? And that's what you're actually doing. Because for grace, your brand cannot afford to sleep. Yes, it will sleep and you'll come back and say, I'm sorry I did that. But 90% of the times, you have to be on top of your game, yeah? So you have to take care of yourself. Simple things. Elizabeth was with her yesterday, and she said, I need to go and sleep. Because if I don't sleep at 10, the window closes, and then it will be like this till morning. Yeah, those are some of the things. You need to sleep, you need to eat well, you need to exercise, you need to do all this for your body so that your body can take care of you and your body can be ready, because when the mental stress checks in, what happens? Yeah, you need to read. You need to equip yourself, upskill yourself with how to lean into difficult conversations. Yeah, and then 3, leading with grace, having composure, resilience under pressure. She told us to be present to ourselves. How many practice or have a mindfulness exercise daily? Just a mindfulness exercise. One that brings you back to yourself, yeah? Brings you back to yourself. So I'd encourage you all to find a mindfulness exercise for you, yeah? One that brings you back to you, that allows you to declutter all the things that are in your mind, so that then you're constantly cultivating a steady and they call that peaceful mindset. I was invited to talk to a group of single moms. And sometimes even in that area, you're very angry at who? At the other person, right? And the other person doesn't even know that you're angry. And then their career is going like this. You're still upset that the kids are with you, they were left there, and he never seems to care. You have a lot of anger. Where, the problem is never outside. And I find that the happier you are, because happiness, as they say, is a choice, the more these things keep just working out themselves. I think they just work themselves out somewhere or another, yeah? As long as you have a focus of it, they work themselves out. So how do you cultivate that balance, that mood? It's by constantly reminding yourself where that North Star is, yeah? And cultivating those emotions and checking with yourself, what emotion am I currently feeling? What is the truth of my emotion? And what am I likely to do? The fourth one. This one is important, the previous slide. Grace is not withdrawing from conversations. Sometimes when we talk about emotional intelligence, guys say, guys who are emotional intelligence, they know how to keep quiet. Grace is expression. It's just the way you express yourself. Grace is strength. So just because there's a heated conversation and conflict, lean into it. You lean in the first time, it will be difficult. You lean in the second time, by the 10th time, it's a skill. So even conflict is a skill. And I feel and observed that one of the things that really plagues us is that we don't take training seriously, unless, of course, it is to do with radiology, neurology, and, financial acumen, investment banking. We take that very seriously. But even the skill of being a human being is a skill. The skill of conflict is a skill, yeah? People use different tools to diffuse conflict. Which one is yours? Do you know which one do you use when you have conflict? Which tool do you use? So withdrawal is not a tactic. We can go to the next one. Next slide. So self-care. Once you learn to maintain a healthy boundary relationship with yourself, you can then be able to meet other people with good feelings. And the way you show up affects the way other people, not even see you, affects the way other people feel. Just by seeing me today, I don't know what feelings I'm eliciting in you. That's the first thing. The first word you say, I feel something. I see someone who reminds me of my ex, I feel something. I see someone who reminds me of a good mentor, I feel something. I feel something, don't I? But when people show up to you, the first thing you do is feel. Not even anything else. So the way you show up to someone affects the way they feel. The way they feel affects how that relationship is going to start. So if you're a leader, that's why I keep saying, your mood is to very many people. Yeah? And the way you're making them feel is either enabling them to plug into the conversation or not, right? So next slide. What does it say? Persuasion without empathy? What is empathy? Huh? Putting yourself in other people's shoes. Okay? Empathy? Huh? Kufeel. Na kufeel. Huh? It's giving grace to others. Na kufeel. Empathy. Another word. It's put there. I think the scholar who said empathy is possibly the number one core competence. And I know why. Empathy Empathy is taking someone else's perspective first as their truth. What does that mean? It means removing the heart of judgment. How easy is that? Huh? It's very hard. When I start telling you something, what do you tell me? Oh, yeah? Borrow high. You know you have a job, by the way. You know there are many people out here who don't have a job. You have a job, at least. Huh? You're already judging the situation. The person has a perspective, but what have you done? You've either belittled it or put it aside. Empathy is when I take that as your truth, the next thing I do, I will listen. I think empathy is there for real listening. And I was having another talk with another leader, and they're asking, so where do I use empathy, this thing called empathy? Where do I use it? Yeah? One of the things that we must learn to do is to be as visible and as present as possible as women in leadership. You know, walking the shop floor, that's something we don't do very well. We stay behind in the office, in the closed office. We go camp with the people who we are working with. We're very almost transactional sometimes, especially as leaders. But leadership demands that we become as visible and as present as we can be. Someone said here, you need to sit with who? The chair. That's being as visible and as present you can be, right? So with empathy, it means that when you look at him and he starts giving you a story, what do? You listen. And you listen to what he's saying and what he's not saying. And empathy really equips us, I think, in my opinion, with deep listening skills. Actually, that's where I think the role of empathy is. And you hear what is said, you hear what is unsaid, and I think with that, it arms you and gives you even more power, yeah, in whatever situation you are. Then when you're having challenging conversations, we have a model we called CARE. Are you being clear? Clarity. What is the one thing that influences everything? It is effective communication. So are we being clear? Are we maintaining the autonomies in the relationship, or are we telling? Are we keeping the relationship important? And are we checking for where inequity might exist? Yeah? Next slide. Do you use stories? We're talking about the power of persuasion. How many of you use stories, personal stories? How many of you think that it's too much? Why should I tell my own personal story? Yeah? Stories are very powerful, and they don't have to be personal. No, it's true. I have a member in my team who just sales, and my story is very simple. It's about the sales process. When I started selling, this is what happened. This is what I did. You can find very many stories everywhere. So if you want to influence, use the art of, and not other people's stories. Not other people's. Find your own bank of stories here and keep them close here and pull them up when you need them, because then what they do is they establish authenticity. They remove that superhuman feel. You know, the guys look at you first as Captain America. Wow, those guys, eh? But the day Captain America died, we loved him. When he didn't die, he was just that guy. Okay, he didn't die, he got hurt. We had a bond. And that's the beauty of stories. Stories give us that lasting connection. They make us vulnerable. And when we are vulnerable, people can connect back with us, right? Next slide. Moving the energy in the room. A lot of us, and I see this also when we conduct team exercises. We like to speak, and we have a lot to say. Yeah, I am the expert of investments. I have a lot to say. I am the expert in marketing. I have a lot to say. And in fact, in most teams you watch, if you watch it play out, they all speak, and they have a lot to say. But the art of speaking, the art of being the one who moves the energy in a room, that's where what you say starts to matter. So, do you consciously regulate yourself when you speak? Do you vary your tones? I know we have people here in ministry. Do you ever see them speaking in one tone? You know, God, amen. Hallelujah. No, yeah? And skilled. Do you see the depth of the language that they use? People even study Hitler. Hitler had lots of followers. We can't remove that from him. Yeah? So where are you in that story of leading the room? You want to lead with grace? You want to be persuasive? How do you tell your story? Right? And then last but not least, I'll give you this. Gracefulness leaves people better. I don't know if you noticed, but I did notice when John was seated here, he turned to you and he said, I really like your example of the internal compass. How did that make you feel? He didn't have to say it. And that's right there of consciously trying to ensure that every person you meet feels better because they met you. Right? I believe even the president, I have a way that I can make him feel better. I don't know, but I know. Because first I have empathy on my side, so I'll sit and listen to him. He's probably going to say one thing that I'm going to feel is really important to him, and I'll read it back to him. And he'll feel like he's the president again. This Kasongo nonsense. Even for 1 minute, disappears. So consciously ensuring that every single encounter, if it's for your teams, if it's for the boardroom, if it's in your family, do you constantly look out for opportunities where you make people feel better about themselves, about what they can achieve? Yeah? And being a leader, I think I've said this in one of the things, the webinars, I think it's a lot about love. And I think for me, love is about devotion. I don't think you can be a great leader or lead with grace if you really, truly don't devote yourself to people. You have to see the best in them. You enter that boardroom, you have to see the best in every single board person. All their intentions are good, even if you don't agree with them. You must devote yourself to, when you leave anyone, they're the better for it. So my last slide, if we get to it, the other one. What is that? Great leaders, before that, they leave dignity. And I remember one time, this is important to me as a girl, when I was a young girl, I read an article on the paper, and this woman was talking about how she got into the airport with her children, and they had no seats for her. And she climbed onto the counter and rabble-roused until they were all put on first class. Yeah, she did. She really did. And she called a few people names. And as a young girl, I thought that was such a cool thing to do. In fact, it was like, when I grow up, yeah, I'm going to do stuff like that. I'm going to make so much noise. Guys, I want to listen, and I'm going to fight, you know. And then I realized at the counter at the airport yesterday, because there's a lot of fracas, that person at the back there is just as confused as they are. Yeah, they're just there. They're trying to keep their calm and whatever they've been told that they were trying to tell you. And I thought, what stories do we hear when growing up, and what stories do you want people to hear about great leadership, especially when it comes to women? We have been taught, I feel myself, that we have to be so strong, that we have to project strength and might. And how that comes out is not graceful. It comes out as rough, comes out as aggressiveness. It's not our very nature. But there's a lot of power in the things we've talked about, the nurturing, the intelligence, the empathy. There's a lot of power in all those things. We don't have to lead with strength. We can lead with grace, and we can be very clever about how we go about things. So with that, I think I will finish my conversation. Huh? The? Yes, yes, this is a favorite quote of mine. It says the 6 elements of are what? Uh-huh. And a stellar reputation, right? But a vision that inspires others is not in your head. Like I said, you have to learn how to communicate that vision. You have to become the person who says people. They will not listen if you don't have those skills. They're just going to be like, oh, she said something. Okay, moving on. Those are skills you must equip yourself with as a woman. Constantly. Sorry, Rose, come back.
It's okay. We are going to Q&A, so you can still stay there. And I hope I am moving the energy in the room while doing this job. I'm learning. Any questions, please? Winnie.
Vicky, thank you very much for that presentation. It's awesome. It's awesome. Let me go back to where you started. You talked about this team that tells we are, that team, eh? And I'd like to hear your views about them, maybe not just them, but teams like that particular one, where they feel empathy doesn't get you anywhere in this organization, where they feel visibility is brutality, where they think it is bullying that gets you places and gets you to the top. How do you deal with such people?
Okay, that's one. Okay.
Thank you so much. There is somewhere where you mentioned that people follow emotional cues and not just vision. Mm-hmm. I didn't quite understand the emotional cues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can take those two. I don't see any other hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come to you. Yeah.
Okay. So let me start with the second one, the one for emotional cues and not vision. You can have a great vision, but if you don't know how to inspire that vision, like how to inspire people to that vision, people will just hear words. So it's understanding what you need to say and how you need to say it and how often you need to say it. When I started profiles, we'd have our usual meetings and we'd have, we're going to do this, and we're going to finish. And then somewhere along the lines, I encountered a gentleman who says, it is your duty to remind people of the purpose. Why does profiles exist? It is your duty to remind everyone who works at profiles why they work at profiles. Otherwise, that message starts getting lost in other people's nuances. So it meant that every month I have to run talks, inspiring talks about why profiles exist. And I must be aware that I'm tugging at people's hearts, not their minds. They know what needs to happen. They just want to believe again. So that's an example of how, for me, vision and emotional cues comes first. The emotional cues comes first. How do I communicate so that people then are buying into that vision? Yeah. Now, the second question. That is first a systemic problem. So you have to in where we've seen it starting to work, it takes about 2 years, 3 years, yeah? The organization first in itself has to decide that this is important. And once they decide that, then they will put together a series of activities that support that. The first one, of course, is training, coaching, assessments, 360s, all those things that then bring out what is really aiding us and how can we change that. Second, of course, is putting measures around what punitive measures are there for certain behaviors that we now do not agree define us. But even with that not being available to you in the long run, awareness is curative. If you even run webinars or training sessions for everyone and start showing them that there's a different way of doing things, you will get a different result. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We have another question here.
I should have had
Thank you very much. Your presentation was excellent. It was very good. And I like what you said, that emotional cues are faster than intellect. Yeah. But you know that there are times that you need to check both before you take action. Tell us, what do you do when there's a conflict? And give an example when the heart is saying, go, 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 but the brain is saying, and then you end up, if you follow the heart, you can end, if you've not yet checked with the brain, you can make an error. But we know, like, for instance, a house is burning and there's police, and you see a woman just shoot through the crowd, through the security, and go in and come out with a baby. Yeah. If you ask that woman whether what she did was rational, logical, and reasonable, it's a no. But if you ask the heart, there was no other choice she had. Yeah. But she's come out with burns, but she has been. But there are times, that's a clear-cut case. But what do you do when there's a conflict between the heart and the brain?
I consult a lot. I know I'm driven by my belief systems, which limit me actually. They don't enable me. They limit me. They limit the decisions that I make because of what I strongly believe. And what I strongly believe in the world is like about 1% of all the information there is out there in the world. Your personal experiences make up for even less than 1% of all the possible outcomes. So you must first understand that you are limited. You are being driven by emotions that are coming from, past traumas, whatever, all those things we talk about, and they're driving you. So even when you feel an emotion, it's to ask yourself of that emotion, where is this one coming from? And you can see the facts are not clear. Consult. Talk to this one, talk to that one, but be aware that you're possibly going to make another stupid, dumb decision. And maybe you have to learn, like boyfriends, you have to learn through them, and then when you get to the other side, you're like, that was a stupid. Yeah, so the more expansive we are, the more we remove the biases that we have within ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, last question.
The thing about emotional intelligence that I found is that we limit it so much. We limit it to the things that it has. We say if you're emotionally intelligent, you're a great leader. If you're emotionally intelligent, you speak better. You will get promoted. In fact, the one that we hear is IQ gets you into the door, EI. But we forget the work that people put in. People who we look at them and we say they have high emotional intelligence. There's a lot of work they've done. It just doesn't show up. There's a lot of work they do. Very high on self-awareness, reflection. All those things are things you have to put in for yourself to grow that skill of AI. Yes?
Thank you. That was a great presentation. My question is, in all this, in what you're saying, consult, what would you say matters of faith or belief or for someone who probably...
Who believes, yeah?
Yeah, who believes, a believer. The Spirit of God speaks to us in some way, or there's that intuition that comes, it's God speaking to you. How do you see that? I know it's a difficult question to ask you, but I just thought it's good to bring it in the room. Thank you.
Yeah. So I once listened to a podcast about the science of opinions. And you and I could look at a question And the lens of faith stops you from coming on board onto that decision. And me, the lens of intellect. It's lenses. They're all lenses. Yeah. The belief system we have helps us, grounds us, gives us meaning and purpose. It also limits us. That's why I say you have to embrace both sides of the coin. There are places you will go that you will never be able to take opportunities there. There are decisions you will never ever find are favorable or even moral. Let's use even the word moral for you. But someone else doesn't have that lens, and you shouldn't sometimes be so quick to judge, because we all went through different paths in our lives, and we all have shaped the way we see the world through certain lenses. So I think it is being aware in humility that you are always limited in what you know about the world, in utter humility. And deeply reflecting, you know that this is a decision I'm making from a value point. These are my values, these are my beliefs, these are the boundaries that I will not cross. They are mine. Yeah, not others, they are mine.
I just wanted to comment. I really loved your presentation, and it's really good because so many things are falling into place. But lately I've been telling everyone and anyone who would like to hear anything that we must make decisions in a multitude of counsel. Yeah. So there's an element of yourself. I just wanted to answer that because of the faith perspective. There's an element of where you need to know something, but if, like someone says, does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, that means then there's a way we can walk in the counsel of the godly. Yeah. So counsel is important. And I like what you said, so that you can see it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we can close it there. I think we learned how to give better flowers than those ones, isn't it? Yeah, so Vicky is gonna get some beautiful flowers.
Thank you.
Yeah, are we ready? So we are doing 1, 2, and then 3, isn't it? No, you're receiving flowers, so you just need to take it. Remain standing. Let's do an activity. I can see some people were almost. Yeah, so let's stand. Yeah? She wants reggae, we'll do at 4. Yeah, when we are finishing, we are doing reggae. But for now, just find on your table, this is what? Left hand, like that. Everyone, right hand. The person on your right, no, let me put this down. So that, sorry, which left hand, right hand, that's the position. No, it's this way. Left, pressing down, right up of it. Hey, left to right, come on, Okay, are we ready? Are we ready? Hello. So, yeah, wait for the next instructions. The instruction is there's a finger you need to grab, isn't it? But I will say when to grab. Listen, ladies, I think you're waking up, eh? Grab without breaking, but you're grabbing on your... Okay, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. All right, let's have, okay, attention please. All right, back to our position, grabbing position, no noise, so that we can hear ourselves. Shh, shh, shh. You're grabbing on number 3, so I'll count. You're only grabbing at 3. 1. We are grabbing at 1. I'm waiting for silence. Eunice, grab 1. 2. 2. We are grabbing on 2, 2, 3. All right. All right, let's settle down. Okay, great. I think we are ready for our next session. We are awake and we want to talk about menopause and perimenopause. Navigating menopause as leaders or professional women. No, what's the no about? I'm waiting for your table. Shh, what has happened? Where has control gone? There's a lot of noise. Yeah, let me wear my prefect hat now. I need control in the room. Listen, we are going to speak about navigating menopause as a leader and professional woman. Even the men in the room, please, this is a very important conversation, isn't it? You either have sisters, wives, colleagues, yeah, and daughters. So it's an important conversation for all of us. And Dr. Bridget Monda will take us through this session. She's a board-certified gynecologist and health educator at the Nairobi Hospital. She is dedicated to addressing the often overlooked impact of menopause and other health transitions on professional life and leadership performance. Through her medical practice, education initiatives, and advocacy, Dr. Monda equips women with the knowledge and tools to maintain their peak health, confidence, and resilience. Her mission is to ensure that women not only thrive in leadership at every stage of their life, but also embrace wellness as a cornerstone to sustainable success. So welcome, Dr. Monda.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for that introduction. Now, to start with, I'm postmenopausal. So this is lived experience for me, okay? I've been through all this. There are a lot of you who are going through the confusion of the perimenopausal period and the postmenopausal period, totally clueless as to what is happening. Due to the changes that are going on in your body. You go to see doctors, we're just as clueless as you are. It's something that we actually don't study in medical school. So you find a lot of us go through a whole host of tests, they all come out normal, and nobody really knows what's going on. So I'm going to, hopefully I'll be able to demystify issues around menopause and perimenopause. Now, my presentation is a bit wordy. It's deliberate because I think you'll understand it better since this is something medical. Now, what exactly is menopause? Yeah. Menopause is a day in time. It's a point in time. It's the last menstrual period a woman will ever have in her lifetime. And the woman is said to have had her menopause when she has not had her period for a continuous 365 days from her last period. So we say she's postmenopausal from that 366th day for the rest of her life. So menopause is a natural part of aging that every woman who lives long enough will go through. Menopause itself has 3 phases. There's the perimenopausal period, which is the transition to menopause, and then the menopause itself, which is a point in time, and then the postmenopausal period, which is the time after menopause. The perimenopausal period is a period of hormonal chaos, and this is what gives us all these symptoms that we get before we have our actual menopause. Then the postmenopausal period is a period of hormonal quiescence, where symptoms seem to improve after a while. Now, the perimenopausal period is actually a transition from normal menstrual periods to no periods at all, and it can start 5 to 10 years before your menopause. So please note this, your perimenopausal period can actually start as early as the age of 35. And because our bodies are built on rhythms and cycles, the perimenopausal period is the opposite of this. So that's why we get all the symptoms that we get from the hormonal chaos that goes on. So the ovaries are still working, but not in that very predictable cyclical manner that they used to work before, ovulating eggs and releasing hormones in a certain cycle. So you get all these wild hormonal fluctuations, and then we get the symptoms that we associate with menopause when you feel like as if your body has rebelled against itself. The postmenopausal period follows the menopause, and this is the period that most people actually refer to as menopause. And the perimenopausal symptoms tend to get less severe in the postmenopausal women. But then in some women, the symptoms actually remain as severe as they were in the perimenopausal period. Now, the average age of menopause can occur anytime between the age of 45 to 55, but the average age is 51. Although they say this is in Caucasians, we really don't have statistics in Asian and African women, but it's thought to occur at least two or so years earlier in Black and brown women. And menopause can occur early, between the ages of 40 to 45, and late, after the age of 55, or prematurely, before the age of 40. The timing is not predictable, and it's determined by genetics. Your average age of menopause will be around the time your mother had hers. Your past medical history, for example, if you have a history of PCOS, menopause tends to occur earlier, or if you have autoimmune disease, which will lead to premature ovarian failure. It's also determined by the number of children you may have had, age of your first pregnancy, if you have used oral contraceptive pills, and also your lifestyle. Obese women tend to have menopause a bit later. Women who smoke tend to have menopause a bit earlier. Now, women are living longer and spending at least a third of their lives postmenopausal. And this is a span of about 30 years. So menopause signals the start of this stage of life. Now, estimates worldwide, by 2025, there are about 1.1 billion women who were experiencing menopause or would be postmenopausal. In the US, they say it's approximately 6,000 women who reach menopause daily, but we do not have local statistics. Now, despite this huge population of women, most of us live in poor health because it's a very neglected part of reproductive health. And this is due to stigma, the negative and ill-informed societal attitudes, because it's associated with aging. And then there's lack of information, both for patients and for doctors. We celebrate puberty, we celebrate pregnancy and birth, but we never celebrate menopause. Yet in traditional African societies, in traditional societies actually, the postmenopausal woman was the most powerful woman. These are the women who are actually the matriarchs of society. The young virgin was seen as the flower. The woman having children was considered the fruit. But the older postmenopausal woman, because she was non-menstruating, was seen as the seed, and she was revered and worshipped. She was considered more powerful because she did not lose blood. She was also seen to be clean, so she could communicate with the ancestors. And because the postmenopausal woman wasn't getting her periods, it was considered that they contained with them the knowledge and potential of all other parts. Now, what causes menopause and all the symptoms associated with it? We're having the symptoms that we're having, peri and postmenopausal, because we're living our lives, we're actually outliving the function of our ovaries. Nature never intended for us to live this long. We were supposed to be born, have puberty, have our children, look after them, and probably be dead by the age of 40 to 45. But with improved nutrition, with the industrial age, with improved medicine, we're living a lot longer. And that is why we are now talking about perimenopause and menopause. And why is it important? It's because of the lack of estrogen, which has long-term health consequences for women. There's more to menopause than just us dismissing it as something that is natural, and you walk into a doctor's room or you discuss it and it's shrugged off. You just have to bear it. Another problem is menopause has been pigeonholed into just being about the ovaries. It's a lot more than that. Menopause actually starts in the brain, not in the ovaries. So how does this come about? Women are born with a full complement of eggs that they'll ever need for pregnancy. Men produce sperm all their lifetime. So by the time we reach puberty, we have about 300 to 400,000 eggs left in our ovaries. And during every menstrual cycle, meaning from one period to the next, we lose about 1,000 eggs per menstrual cycle. So every menstrual cycle, there's about 1,000 eggs that are recruited, and then out of the best of the crop, that particular one egg is ovulated. If you have intercourse, you get pregnant. If you don't, that egg dies, as well as the other 1,000 eggs that were recruited with it. So you can imagine this going on from the time of puberty to the time you're now approaching your perimenopausal period. So by the age of about 35, we only have about 10% of our eggs left. And by perimenopause, or by the time we get to our 40s, we only have about 3% of the eggs left. Now this leaves the brain messaging a very unresponsive ovary that is completely depleted of eggs and unable to secrete estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, which leads to the peri- and postmenopausal symptoms. Now, as those eggs are being prepared during every menstrual cycle, the ovary is also secreting the steroid, what we call the sex steroid hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So as the eggs get depleted, the hormone levels, or the secretion of the hormone levels, also drops, and that will then eventually lead to the symptoms we have in the perimenopausal and postmenopausal period. Now, out of these three hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, estrogen is the master hormone in women. This is what makes us women. And all the cells in our bodies have estrogen receptors, right from our skin, our hair, our eyes, name any part of the body. They all have estrogen receptors. So all these organs are affected by the drop in estrogen levels, which leads to the long-term health consequences seen in this age group of women. So estrogen is a master hormone, but progesterone and testosterone are important supporting actors. Now, the symptoms we associate with menopause are actually the symptoms that occur in the perimenopausal period. There are over 50 of them. I mean, the list is endless. It could be a change of taste. It could be a ringing of the ears. It could be a change in your sleeping pattern. You lose hair, you grow mustaches, you get irregular periods, you get mood swings, hot flushes, night sweats. And there's no particular test we can do in the perimenopausal period due to the wildly fluctuating hormonal levels. So when you go to see your doctor, all these tests that we actually do are of no help, because there's no particular test that we can do that will be able to tell us that you are perimenopausal. There's only one particular test that we would do that would tell us whether you are postmenopausal. And that, of course, after taking, you see your doctor, they take your history. If you've not had your period for over a year, there's this particular test that we do that would tell us that you truly are postmenopausal. Now, all the symptoms of perimenopause actually make you feel like you're having PMS every single day. Now, this is just an image to show you some of the symptoms of menopause. And remember, every single organ in the body, including your heart, has estrogen receptors. So you can get palpitations, you can get breathlessness, your libido walks out of the door, irregular periods, anxiety and depression, night sweats, hot flushes, name it, the list is endless. Brain fog, where you can be talking on your phone and you're looking for it. So, I've mentioned that all the organs in our body have estrogen receptors. So I'll just mention the main ones. Let's begin in the brain. Now, because of the drop in estrogen, women's brains actually age differently. And they're thought to, the women's brains are actually thought to renovate themselves, because scientists have proven that we discard the brain cell connections that we no longer need, for example, for reproduction. So our brains tend to be leaner, more resilient, and more efficient. But these changes also will cause issues like the brain fog, where we have difficulties in remembering things, we have problems with our concentration and decision making. The brain itself, again, is abundant. It has abundant estrogen receptors, so decreased estrogen levels will affect brain function as well. So that is why we have hot flushes and night sweats, mood swings, brain fog, memory lapses, forgetfulness, disturbed sleep. But all these changes are physiological, not cognitive. A woman's intelligence or her cognitive function is not affected. Her IQ does not change. Frankly speaking, let me tell you something. The perimenopausal woman and postmenopausal woman is a woman at her best. You've gone through your life's experiences, you have the skill sets that you have acquired over life, your children are grown, you're financially stable, you're at the peak of your careers. Now the problems we have, not able to perform in our jobs, is simply because of lack of estrogen. Okay? So once we replace the estrogen, you're actually able to function at optimum. So when we talk about vasomotor symptoms, we're talking about the hot flushes, the night sweats, and the chills. And this is because of the lowered estrogen levels in the body, which lead to an unstable thermostat in the brain. So you find there's unstable temperature regulation, so you sweat when you're not supposed to be sweating, you have hot flushes when you're not supposed to be having hot flushes, you're getting chills as well. These are what we call the vasomotor symptoms. And then we have triggers, like hot drinks, hot weather, hot or spicy food, alcohol, coffee, and even just stress alone. And then we have disrupted sleep. And this again is because you're having night sweats and hot flushes. So you're suddenly very cold and you're covering yourself with blankets. And then you suddenly have hot flushes, which makes you wake up and throw off the blankets. Then you wake up soaked in sweat. You have to wake up and change your sheets and your clothes. Then also, our sleep gets more disrupted as well, because remember, it's not just estrogen that we have lost, we've lost progesterone, and progesterone is a relaxing hormone. We also have a drop in melatonin levels, which control our sleep cycle. Of course, the estrogen levels have affected our mood. We're anxious, we're depressed, a lot of times because we don't know what is going on with our bodies. And then we have a less stable natural sleep-wake cycle, or the circadian rhythm, which leads to fragmented sleep. Our mood is also affected because the drop in estrogen levels leads to a drop in neurotransmitters called serotonin and dopamine, which regulate our mood, sleep, feelings of well-being, motivation, and pleasure. So you end up being extremely irritable, depressed, have poor focus, and concentration. In fact, patients with women with ADHD symptoms tend to get worse in the perimenopausal period. Now, when it comes to the heart, estrogen acts on the liver to maintain a healthy cholesterol profile in our bodies. And this is because estrogen keeps the total cholesterol levels low, keeps the bad LDL, what we call the LDL cholesterol, low, and increases the good HDL cholesterol. Estrogen also stabilizes the rhythm of the heart. It stimulates growth of new blood vessels. And then it keeps these blood vessels also elastic, supple, and healthy. It relaxes the blood vessels, so you find that we have decreased blood pressure and decreased risk of heart disease. In fact, the risk for heart disease in women is less than in men before menopause, but we quickly catch up in the peri- and postmenopausal period due to decreased estrogen levels, which leads to an increased cardiovascular disease risk. And the main cause of death in women, for example, in the US, is actually heart attacks, cardiac, what we call coronary artery disease. It's not breast cancer, as people have suggested in the past. It's actually cardiovascular disease. And that is because the low estrogen levels lead to an increase in bad cholesterol, a decrease in good cholesterol. You get fat deposition in the blood vessels, which leads to hardening of the vessels. Your blood pressure goes up because your blood vessels are no longer as supple and elastic as they were before. And then you get weight gain and decreased blood vessel elasticity as well. We have an increased risk of what we call metabolic syndrome. And there's a new term, we're calling it metabolic syndrome of menopause. where you have elevated blood pressures, abdominal obesity, insulin resistance, where you need more insulin to do the job that less used to do before, and then dyslipidemia, which just means high cholesterol levels in the blood. Now, the skeletal muscle. Our skeletal muscles, those are the muscles that make us move, are actually our organs of longevity. They're our pension plan. And this is because they are our calorie sink, since they consume over 80% of the glucose we ingest every day. And because of this, they help control the glucose in our blood. And by helping control the glucose, they also keep the insulin levels in our blood normal, within the normal levels. Now, what happens in the perimenopausal and postmenopausal period, the drop in estrogen leads to a loss of muscle. That's called sarcopenia. So you'll notice when women tend to get a bit older, they tend to seem to shrink. They're actually losing muscle. And this is dangerous. It's called sarcopenia. Because what happens, we lose muscle, which means we don't have enough muscle to absorb. Remember, you're eating the same kind of food, same kind of activity. But now you don't have enough muscle to absorb that glucose you're getting from food. What happens now? You take in the food, insulin is released to push that glucose into the muscles. And because you don't have enough muscle, you still have persistent glucose levels in the blood. So what does insulin do? It converts that glucose into fat. Remember, you have reduced estrogen levels, and you still have progesterone and testosterone in particular, which is a male hormone. So what does that male hormone make us do? It makes us deposit fat around the belly the way men do. Remember, it's a male hormone. So that is why we start putting weight, we start depositing fat. We develop belly fat, which we never had before. Now that fat is dangerous because it's not just what you see on the outside. It also lines the heart, the major organs in the body, the heart, the kidneys, the large intestine, the intestines, the kidneys, and it's very inflammatory. And this goes for women who are small as well. So those are the women we call toffees. You're thin on the outside, but fat on the inside. Yeah. So any perimenopausal woman is at risk of developing visceral fat as well, regardless of your size. Now, when it comes to the bones, our bones are active tissue. The bones, the skeleton you have now is not the same skeleton that you had 10 years ago, or when you were in your 30s, for example. And our bones are constantly remodeling. So we have mainly two groups of cells. The cells that grow bone, which are called osteoblasts, and the cells that break down old bone, which are called osteoclasts. In the presence of estrogen, the building of bone and the breakdown of old bone is balanced. Now, when we have less estrogen, this bone remodeling is disrupted. So you find you will still deposit bone, but you will not deposit it at the same rate as the rate you break down old bone. So you find you're breaking down bone faster than you are depositing new bone, and this leads to a net loss of bone, which leads to osteopenia, which is weak bone, and then osteoporosis, where your bones actually look like coral. And this is an extremely dangerous condition to get to. I'll explain why. We reach our peak bone density or strength around our 30s, and then we start losing this bone mass, and there's accelerated loss of this bone around the perimenopausal period. At least 2 to 3 years before you have your actual menopause, you're losing 2 to 5% of bone per year. And then after menopause, there's a steady loss of 1 to 2% per year after menopause, which leads to osteopenia and osteoporosis. Now, when we talk about osteopenia, what we're talking about is bone with lower than normal bone density, but it's not as severe as osteoporosis. When we talk of osteoporosis, this is bone that has both decreased mineral density and decreased bone mass. So your bones actually look like coral. And then you end up developing what we call musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause, which I'm sure some of you have experienced it. You get joint pains, they're inflamed, you're losing muscle mass, you're losing bone, you wake up one morning and your shoulder is swollen and frozen, and you don't know why. You're not able to open the zip the way, or to zip up your dress the way you used to before. Then there's an increased risk of fractures. Now, if a woman fractures her hip, that's the femur, the minute you fracture that hip, you have a 30% risk of death, just starting at that point. 70% of those women will not make it to be as mobile as they were before, the previous mobility. And all this is because of the potential complications that come with a fracture hip. The risk of you throwing, clots, bed sores because you cannot move, developing urinary tract infections which then spread to your kidneys, and you become septicemic, and you end up with severe infections, and you end up dying because of that. Then we have what we call the genitourinary syndrome of menopause. Because of the lack of estrogen, you find a shortening, thinning, and drying of the vaginal walls and tissues in the genital area. This is called the genitourinary syndrome of menopause. And the symptoms you get include passing urine so many times, having frequency, having a burning sensation, vaginal burning and irritation, painful intercourse because of a shortened vagina that is poorly lubricated, recurrent urinary tract infections because you no longer have the protective thickness of the tissues in the genital area, recurrent vaginal discharges because the natural number of organisms that you have living in the vagina actually change. And then, of course, there's zero libido. But then menopause is inevitable, but the suffering should not be. Yeah? So I've made this very simple for my patients. I call it the menopause toolkit because there's a lot. Yeah? Nutrition, sleep hygiene, stress management, exercise. And when I talk about exercise, a lot of women find it so difficult because when I talk of exercise, I'm not talking about skipping or doing sit-ups or walking. I'm talking about weight and resistance training because you need to lift and lift heavy because we're not working out to be skinny, we're working out to be strong. And then screening, where we do our pap smears, our mammograms, things like DEXA scans, that's when we check the density of your bones. And then what I call pharmacology, which includes supplements, non-HRT therapies, which is mainly phytoestrogens, and then hormone replacement therapy. And then for me, what is most important when it comes to the menopause toolkit, educating yourself, getting informed so that you can advocate for yourself. Because remember, we are actually not taught menopause in medical school. It's a completely neglected area of medicine. There's increased awareness now, where some of us are now taking an interest in it. But if you go to see a doctor who's as unaware as you are, you just end up going around in circles and end up very, very frustrated and trying all sorts of things which do not help you at all. Now, for the peri- and postmenopausal woman, protein is the most important nutrient of menopause, and it can be animal protein or plant protein because this maintains your muscle, it helps the muscles repair and grow, it counters the loss of muscle mass, and this is improved even more when you combine this with resistance training. Protein helps maintain bone density, and then of course it helps you with your weight management because it keeps you fuller longer. And we need an average of about 100 to 120 grams per day. So what I usually tell women, you don't really need to weigh the protein. Just make sure you have a protein at breakfast, at lunch, and at dinner. And what's happening in your shopping basket actually is a general reflection of what's happening in your general health status. Then sleep hygiene. To counter the effects of the lack of estrogen on your sleep pattern, it's good to maintain a regular sleep schedule, create a relaxing bedtime routine, optimize your sleep environment, limit caffeine and alcohol just before you go to bed, exercise regularly because this also helps you distress, manage stress, consider HRT, progesterone. The progesterone in HRT helps with sleep. And then if you find that does not work, you can always seek the advice or the help of a sleep specialist and then try alternative treatments. But frankly speaking, when it comes to sleep hygiene, if you do the basic things and you're on HRT, it usually sorts out the issues. And then exercise, I'm back to this again. Human beings were designed to be mobile. We were designed to always be moving, and that is why our biggest muscles are below the waist. And then another thing, getting older does not mean getting weaker or more frail. It just means getting smarter about how you move. So for you to actually mitigate some of these effects of lack of estrogen, you need to lift and lift heavy at least 2 to 3 times a week to increase skeletal muscle and also to help you deposit bone. Because when you exercise, what happens? Your skeletal muscle puts mechanical pressure on your bones. So the message that is sent to the brain is that the bones have to deposit bone because there is stress coming from somewhere. So you end up depositing bone and increasing your bone mass. When we talk about exercise in the peri- and postmenopausal period, the aim is not to minimize fat, but to maximize skeletal muscle. It's not to be skinny, but to be strong. And because skeletal muscle is the organ of longevity, this protects against falls and fractures and also takes care of insulin resistance. It increases the flow of blood to the brain, which helps with brain fog and the night sweats and the hot flushes as well. And then the big one, hormone replacement therapy. Hormone replacement therapy means replacing estrogen and progesterone that declined during the peri- and postmenopausal period. Part of HRT is also testosterone, but the main one is actually estrogen, and then progesterone comes in as a supporting hormone. This alleviates the vasomotor symptoms that we have, the genitourinary syndrome, and also the musculoskeletal syndrome. It's cardioprotective. It lowers the risks of osteoporosis. But HRT is just one of the important tools in your toolkit for a longer, healthier life. HRT is not a solution to all issues menopause, but it's a very important part of how you manage your perimenopause and postmenopausal period because of the important health benefits that you get. It protects your health and gives you longevity and improves your quality of life. Remember, we live at least a third of our lives peri- and postmenopausal. Now, HRT does not cause cancer of the breast. HRT does not cause heart attacks. HRT does not cause strokes. And when we're prescribing HRT to patients, there are 5 things that we look for. Who is HRT or MHT for? What types and doses of MHT could be used for the patient? When will the patient start? Why is MHT important, and where can MHT be assessed? HRT sometimes is called MHT in some medical circles. Now, when we talk about the 5 W's, that's the who, the what, the when, the why, and where. Who is MHT for? MHT or HRT for? HRT is for any healthy peri- and postmenopausal woman younger than the age of 60 or one who's within 10 years of her menopause who does not have any contraindications to HRT. What types of HRT are there available? It comes in the form of tablets, creams, gels, patches, sprays, and rings. When should it be started? The best time to start HRT is in the perimenopausal period, not postmenopausal, and it is given for life. So we have moved away from giving women the lowest dose for the shortest period of time to starting at the perimenopausal period, and you go on it for life. Why is it important? Because of the long-term health benefits. Where can it be assessed? Any reputable pharmacy. Now, the controversy surrounding HRT arose from the Women's Health Initiative study. This was a study that was actually a disservice to women, and a whole generation of women lost out on the benefits of HRT because this study was poorly conducted. To start with, it was supposed to have lasted at least 8 years. They stopped it only after 5 years. The findings were released before peer review. Peer review means study that is given to other doctors or other scientists to assess, to confirm your findings before it is released to the general public, and then they did it through the press. So you can imagine the megaphone of the press. A majority of the findings, the negative findings of the Women's Health Initiative have actually been walked back. But you see, once you've rung a bell, you can't unring it. And nobody has ever taken a megaphone to actually stand out there and tell women that all this is not true. And you know, once women hear cancer, that's it, you're done. There's no way. It's very hard to get patients back on board about HRT or about any any drug, for example, or treatment that is suggested to cause cancer. Now, again, in the Women's Health Initiative study, the average age was 63, and then these findings are extrapolated to all the women in the group, which was an average of about 50 to 79. You don't do that. And then they use only one set of HRT, something called combined equine estrogen, which was estrogen made from the urine of pregnant horses, and medroxyprogesterone. And it showed a relative increase in cancer of the breast, but something that was not statistically significant. So an increase of 4 in 1,000 women who were not on HRT to 5 in 1,000 women, which was for women on HRT. But the irony of it is that when women were taken off HRT, the incidence of breast cancer still went up anyway. And then there was an arm of women who only put on estrogen in this study, and it showed that they had a decreased risk of cancer of the breast of about 23%. And then again, it's been proven time and time again that HRT does not cause cancer of the breast. And it's been said that the risk of getting cancer of the breast on HRT is less than that of someone taking 2 glasses of wine daily for a year. The main contraindications to HRT is your own personal history of cancer of the breast, not family history. So a lot of women are being denied HRT because they have a family history of cancer of the breast. That should not happen. Contraindication, again, is your own personal history of an estrogen-dependent cancer, like cancer of the uterus, not a family history. Your personal history of active liver disease, your personal history of a heart attack, not family history, and then a woman who has undiagnosed vaginal bleeding. So my message to you today is, we do not have to be the victims of the passage of time. Aging is inevitable, but how we age is not. And menopause itself is inevitable, but the suffering should not be. Yeah. So thank you for listening to me. I can take your questions.
Wow, this was a very insightful topic, isn't it? Mimi yangu ni hiyo ichi, number 1. I even thought I had food in poisoning or something.
Thank you very much, Dr. for that very insightful conversation on this very important topic that has for a long time not been discussed the way we are discussing it here. So thank you so much. And one of the things I think, and I think you referred to it, is the whole issue of stigma, where women have been labeled as useless, past sell-by date, and all those are the bad things. And it is worse more in the workplace, the corporate workplace, and this is because then the stigma is taken to the women. And as a result of them, some of them cannot grow from their roles to higher levels because they are deemed to be useless. And they're also deemed to be, they've reached the end, and they cannot be promoted from there. So thank you for that. Now there's one of the things, it's a comment here, and I really am seeking your help here. I sit on a board of an insurance company. It's taken me close to 2 years to get the organization to get it, that menopause is not something that women bring upon themselves, that it is a condition of life, just like we treat other conditions of life, the whole issue around pregnancies and other. It is just one of those things that happen. And these people are coming around to see what it is. They've refused to call it menopause. They're calling it a woman overall product, because the buy-in, they say, from the medical field is not coming through. And therefore they have to label it other things, and so that it is acceptable to the medical field. And therefore it's my plea that kindly keep spreading this gospel, and more so to your colleagues in the medical field and to the other insurance companies,
so that women can be taken care of. Because whatever conditions, whatever symptoms, the vasomotor symptoms that come up, they can be treated. And because they're excluded from insurance covers, that they can be included and that they are recognized as something that is a condition and not something that is like almost close to a pre-existing condition. Thank you.
Let me comment on that. One thing I've learned, the worst anybody can do is say no to you, number one. Number two, when you go armed with information, it's very difficult for somebody to actually deny you that. Number three, there are corporates that are actually covering their staff for perimenopause and menopause-related issues, like Stanchart, and they're on Jubilee. They have a menopause cover. East African Brewers Limited, they are on CIC. They have a menopause cover as well. They're on Old Mutual, and they had a menopause cover as well. And then, yeah, APSA does as well. Okay. And what I tell my patients is go and talk to your HR. Here's a 55-year-old woman whose last born is 22 years old, and she's been given a maternity cover on her insurance. Why can't that maternity cover be converted into a menopause cover? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that is a conversation we need to start having with our employers, because insurers will pay for what you ask for. And if there's reason, they will pay for it. And you see, I keep saying that maternity cover can be maternity or menopause because the premiums don't change.
Absolutely.
And it is cheaper for the insurance to cover you for your peri and postmenopausal symptoms than it is for them to manage a fracture femur.
Absolutely.
Or to manage depression, for example, because a lot of us end up being put on antidepressants because nobody has any clue about what is going on. And all you need to do is actually screen this patient and then start them an HRT if they have no contraindication to it. And if there is a contraindication, we deal with it the way we deal with it then. But the only way we're going to change things is when we ourselves start talking about it. It won't just come from us doctors, by the way, because, you know, immediately you're told, we don't cover menopause. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a pre-authorization declined just because I said this patient had postmenopausal bleeding. So I picked up a phone and I called this lady and asked her, so what exactly did you want me to do? Remove the word postmenopausal bleeding. This woman is 55. She's postmenopausal. She is having postmenopausal bleeding. Or did you want me to say abnormal uterine bleeding? And then you will cover it, which is ridiculous. It's the same thing, same procedure, just a change of words. Yeah. So they covered it. So we need to educate yourselves. So that is why it's important for you to get educated so that then you are able to advocate for yourselves as well. I have had patients who have left my office and actually had their HRs go ahead and authorize for them to be given HRT.
And we don't want that to happen. We want it to be clear, just like I can come to a hospital with a chest situation, stomach situation. And you're very right. You're very right. We have to advocate for it as women, speak to employers about it, but also speak to the insurance about it. And whoever else is in insurance here, please, let's keep fighting this battle. It needs to get out there.
Because I say, for example, diabetics are insulin deficient. They're given insulin. Patients with hypothyroidism have no thyroxine, so they are given thyroxine. We are estrogen deficient, so why can't we be covered for estrogen? And it is so cheap. And then you see, with more awareness, these products are being brought into the market now. So the costs they're actually very affordable now. Yeah.
All right, any other question? Carol, then Elizabeth.
Another thing, I'm sorry, just to add to something you said about the workplace, we need to create a conducive environment for the peri and postmenopausal woman in the work environment. We need to demystify what it is about. We need to give women flexible working hours and where they can actually work, allow them to have fans, destigmatize menopause in the office. Have these talks in your office, by the way, and encourage both the men and women to attend, including the young ones. The young ones, because they're headed in this direction. Eh? Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So I have two questions. So one is for women who have had a hysterectomy, at what point would they be considered menopausal? Because then, of course, their period ended. So how is that treated? And then for those who might have been on hormonal birth control, where usually there's a little bit of disturbance in the menses, then again, how then do you calibrate the perimenopausal, because it doesn't have the stability of the regular menses?
To answer your second question first, we actually can use a contraceptive pill as a form of HRT for the perimenopausal woman who's having an irregular cycle, having symptoms, and still needs contraception. So the combined oral contraceptive pill can be used for a perimenopausal woman as HRT. That's one. Two, the lack of period is not because of not having a uterus. The lack of period in a woman who still has a uterus is because the ovaries are no longer releasing estrogen and progesterone because they're depleted of eggs. So removing her uterus just means she still has her ovaries, which are not firing as they should. So we still put them on HRT. Now, for a woman who does not have a uterus, we will put her only on estrogen because she does not need the protective effect of progesterone since she doesn't have a uterus anymore. Let me explain that. During our regular menstrual cycles, estrogen prepares the lining of the uterus for pregnancy. Progesterone maintains the pregnancy if you conceive, and slows off the lining of the uterus if you do not conceive. So they work in tandem. Now, when you have your uterus in the peri and postmenopausal period and we put you on HRT, we need to give you both estrogen and progesterone so that the progesterone counters the effect of the estrogen on the lining of the uterus, because we don't want you to start having your period again. But for a woman who's had a hysterectomy and has had her uterus removed, we just put on estrogen alone. She does not need the progesterone, because she has no lining of uterus to protect.
So just a follow-up question. Yeah. Does that then mean because once the uterus is removed and there are no menses, does that person automatically become menopausal?
No.
Regardless of age, that's what's happening. So that's
It's her hormonal environment that determines whether she's perimenopausal or postmenopausal. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ari. I was very honored to sit with you yesterday, so I learned a bit of this. I feel like that's what brought me to Mombasa, you know. So you did say that menopause starts in the brain. At the same time, you said that during perimenopause, the brain renovates. I think you said that. Yeah. And yet at the same time, forgetfulness is one of the symptoms. So I don't know, for me, that looks like it's a contradiction, but I wanted to understand why is there forgetfulness if the brain has been, renovating itself? So that's one. The second one is about HRT that is given to women. You recommended women below 60. What about those who are above 60? Why should they not go on to HRT?
Okay, so let me answer your second question first. We give you a span of 10 years from the time you have your menopause. So for example, if you have your menopause at 56, you still have a window of opportunity of those 10 years. So that point in time is actually from the time you have your menopause, or you start during your perimenopausal period. So if you are 10 years postmenopausal and you're above the age of 60, you see, the older we get, the higher your risks of comorbidities like thickened, inelastic blood vessels, chances of being diabetic, hypertensive, etc. So when it comes to a woman above the age of 60, we take it on an individual basis. So you'll find a very unhealthy 61-year-old cannot be put on HRT. But a very healthy 63-year-old can actually be put on HRT. Okay, that's one. Two, because of the brain, the older we get, the human body has a way of adapting. So when we lose the estrogen, when our estrogen levels drop, scientists have shown that the female brain actually adapts to this change in hormones. There are 3 times when we have major hormonal changes in our body: puberty, pregnancy, and menopause, the peri and postmenopausal period. And at that time, the brain actually adapts to all those hormonal changes. So in the peri and postmenopausal period, because the estrogen levels drop, the human body has a way of optimizing the environment it is in. So it gets rid of what it does not need. So it doesn't need the brain connections that it needed for reproduction because you're not reproducing anymore. So you get a smaller, leaner, more efficient brain. But it is not firing, the brain cells are not firing as they should, as efficiently as they should, because you don't have estrogen, or you don't have enough estrogen. So you find all these symptoms like the night sweats and the brain fog and the hot flushes actually get resolved when you're put on HRT. So the best treatment for all these peri and postmenopausal symptoms is actually estrogen.
In a situation where I'm 60 plus, and according to you, I cannot be put on HRT. So my only saving grace is the exercise, lift heavy.
Remember, Remember, I talked about the menopause toolkit, huh? Because not every woman is an eligible candidate for HRT. The other majority of women actually do qualify, but we must screen first. I'll never start you on HRT unless we've screened. That I will not do. So that means you have to do your pap smears, your pelvic scans, your cholesterol levels, check your kidneys, do your mammogram, do your DEXA scan. And then if everything is okay, then we start you on HRT. Yeah. But if you're not eligible, there are all these other things that we can actually give you. There are other drugs that we have, like Vioza for management of hot flushes. And then, of course, the other things like the supplements, okay, and then working out as well. Something about supplements, by the way, there are times a patient will walk in and she has like 10 different types of vitamin D3 and calcium and, wow, magnesium and all that. I have made it very simple. The 3 main supplements that you need are magnesium, and I'll tell you which type. Magnesium, omega-3, and creatine monohydrate. Yeah. Omega-3, you don't need omega-6 and 9 because you make it, our bodies make it. The omega-3 that you find in oily fish, you know, like what you get in butter. We run to the salmons and the tunas and all that, and we have our butter, which despite the smell actually has the highest concentration of omega-3 in all the fish that we have, okay? So omega-3, the brands that are good in the market are Now and Life Extension. Those you get at Healthy You. But for those who have an HRT cover, menopause cover, by the way, I think you're covered for those supplements as well. And then I said what? Magnesium. Magnesium, either bisglycinate, which is good for sleep, or L-threonate, which is good for cognition and sleep. I prefer the magnesium L-threonate because it's very good for the brain fog. I should be charging you guys for a consultation. Anyway, magnesium L-threonate, okay? And again, the brands that I recommend that are easily available are Now or Life Extension. And then creatine monohydrate, this white powder that you see bodybuilders use. The science right now shows that it is so beneficial for the peri and postmenopausal woman because it's like an extra charge to your battery. And for those who work out, you do 5 grams of creatine monohydrate every morning, either before your workout or after, and you'll be amazed at what it does for you. You find you're able to work harder and longer without getting tired. And after a very intense workout, you leave feeling energized, not tired. That I can tell you for a fact, because I work out regularly. By the way, I walk the talk. Huh? I don't just talk it, I lift, and I lift heavy. So creatine monohydrate, you don't need to buy anything expensive. It's available at Healthy You. Right now they have a discount. So you buy 410 grams at about, I think it's 2,000 bob now. You do a 5-gram scoop in water or juice or in your smoothie before your workout, although it's not time specific, but you can do it before your workout or after your workout every day. And then it is also very good for the brain. Because remember, our brain utilizes about 20% of the energy we take in form of food. So it's actually seen as a brain supplement, and it's even being given to patients who are developing dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's been shown to slow down the progress of the disease. So it's something the bodybuilders use, but it's something that women are being encouraged. The perimenopausal and postmenopausal woman is being encouraged to use as well. And then vitamin D3, that you only take after you have done a test. Because you may not necessarily need the vitamin D3. You don't just pop vitamins for the sake of it. Huh? So part of your screening should actually be to check your vitamin D3 levels. And if they're low, then you do a top-up. But just to make things easy, because there are all these things that you're taking, you can do like 60,000 units once a week for 4 weeks, and then you repeat maybe after 3 months or after 6 months. So you do a top-up maybe once every 6 or so months. Now, the reason we are finding a lot of vitamin D3 deficiency is because, number one, we've got melanin, and then our lives are house, car, office, car, house. So we end up becoming vitamin D3 deficient. Please notice I have not talked about calcium. It's discouraged in the form of a supplement. We prefer you get your calcium through food, and then the supplement, the vitamin D3, then is able to push the calcium into your bones and your muscles. It's feared that calcium actually causes hardening of the blood vessels, which increases your risk of heart attacks. And then the other supplement that people like a lot is collagen for our skin and our hair and our nails. Now, the interesting thing is the Mzungu is coming back to tell us how we should be taking bone broth, something Africans have taken for years. The soup that we get, that we actually make from bones, is the best source of collagen. And what we throw, the chicken legs, you know the ones with the claws, that is the best source of collagen too for the joints. So you boil it until it gets to a jelly form. You put in vinegar or apple cider vinegar, and then just boil it for about 10 hours or so. That is the best source of collagen, and you take that every day. It really helps with the joint aches that you get. Okay. And then I also talked about the non-HRT, treatments that we have for perimenopause and menopause. That is things like the evening primrose oil, things like ashwagandha, things like black cohosh, red clover. If you're on conventional HRT, you can't be on those because those are plant estrogens. They relieve symptoms, but they do not give you the health benefits of estrogen itself. So it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. It'll fit, but there are still gaps. So you need the actual estrogen itself to fit into those receptors, the estrogen receptors, to be able to get the benefits. So if you're on conventional HRT, you do not do the phytoestrogens, the ashwagandhas and the black cohosh and red clover. You don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question here.
You talked about lifting and lifting heavy. So how heavy are the weights we should be lifting? And what about people who have osteoarthritis? Should they be lifting?
I have severe osteoarthritis, my dear, but I squat, I do my deadlifts, I do it all because I am determined. I am not going to get a fracture of a hip. I have to walk the talk. So when my patients come and tell me, oh, time, I don't know what, I start my day in the gym. Number one. Number two, when you have osteoarthritis, that's arthritis of a joint. When you work out, you strengthen the muscles around that joint, which relieves the osteoarthritis and supports that joint. So what you do, I always tell, okay, I know there are people who work out at home. My advice is always work out with a professional, because even for someone like me who's worked out for quite a while, you still find, when you're in the gym, they'll tell you, Daktari, that is the wrong form. And you'll find an instructor coming and putting his finger in the middle of your back so that you curve your back the right way. You will not be able to do that at home. So for those who can, I always advise working out in the gym is always better. You don't have to do it every day, at least 2 to 3 times a week. If you're someone who likes walking, there's something new called rucking. you buy what we call a weighted chest vest. And I encourage you to buy the type that has, you know, the one that you can adjust the weights. And then you use that when you're walking. It increases the intensity of the workout for you. Yeah, so you can do 2 or 3 times a week in the gym, and then maybe do your walking or your swimming another 2 or 3 times in a week. When I say lift and lift heavy, my dear, I'm talking about, you know those 2 pink weights, those 2 kilogram ones, not that. I mean, like when you're doing a 1-arm row, you should have reached at least 20 kilos by the time you've been working out for 6 months or so. Believe me, you'll be able to do it. If you're doing a squat, for example, if you have a problem with your knees, you know the most important muscle for your knees is your gluteus, you know the butt, the booty. When you do your squats and you strengthen that muscle, it sorts out the pressure on your knees. So you do your squats, you start with your 10 kilos both, that's what, 20 kilos, then you increase slowly to your 15, then you get to your 45, your 90. I mean, you should see some of these things that ladies in the gym do, and you're like, my goodness, when I grow up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, my question is like this. We have vitamin D and calcium. Which one helps the absorption of the other? You know, it's like chicken and egg, those two, we are told. But which one, make it clear that helps the absorption of the other?
Sorry.
And also, which are the best sources of calcium?
The good thing is the African diet is a very calcium-rich diet. We get it in everything, in our milk, our eggs, our beans, our dark green vegetables, name it. We get it in everything, our nuts. The basic African diet is a very calcium-rich diet. So you get what we call elemental calcium. Then the vitamin D is what pushes the calcium into the bones and into the muscles. Now, you asked something about how heavy. You should be able to, for example, if you're doing a 1-arm row, yeah, for those of you who work out, you'll know what I'm talking about. You should be able to do a weight where when you're getting to the 10th row, you're pushing yourself to get to like 12. Then you know you're doing the right weight. But it's incremental, my dear. You will not start with a 20 kilo weight. You probably start with a 7.5, then your instructor increases it to 10. It's a very gradual increase. But remember, you're working out to be strong, not to be skinny, number one. So the most important thing when you're working out is consistency. Even if you're waking up and you don't feel like doing those weights, just go and walk on the treadmill or walk on the, go on the, what do they call it, the cross trainer. Just do something. It's that doing, investing every day in yourself that makes a difference. And when you become consistent, everything falls into place. And then you know when your body starts responding to exercise, you get motivated because you're looking better, you're feeling better, you're sleeping better, you're more energized, your brain is clear, your skin clears, your hair grows, I mean, name it. All the benefits, yeah?
Thank you, Daktari. I'm asking a very off question, but menopause for women, andropause for men, do they have similar reactions the way women have? And assuming this woman is menopausal, the hubby is andropausal, what happens in the house?
My dear, believe me, if men had the kind of issues women have, it would be, it would be a serious emergency. You believe me, all sorts of scientific studies would have been done to sort out the issues. Remember, when they had erectile dysfunction, they came up with that blue pill. We women, when we have issues with our libido, we're told just survive somehow. Yeah, live with it. You see, for women, we are born with a full complement of eggs that we'll ever need for reproduction, and that is tied to our hormonal cycle as well. But for men, they create new genetic material every day, meaning they produce sperm all their lives. So they do have andropause, but they lose their hormones at a very gradual rate. So that is why you'll find a 60-year-old man is not aging as fast as a 60-year-old woman who is not on HRT. They start looking old in their 70s and 80s, and it's because of the very gradual drop in their testosterone levels, because they're producing sperm, new sperm every single day. That is one. Two, remember, men are notorious for never seeking health, never seeking medical attention for their issues. So you can be suffering here, and he's having his issues, but he's not telling you. Yeah. So if you have a postmenopausal woman with an andropausal man, my goodness. You'd probably be spending most of your time looking after him. Yeah. Because that's how, unfortunately, society has programmed us. We look after everybody else and forget ourselves. But you know, I don't know how to put this. Excuse my language. We just need to be smart bitches. I mean, this is the time you just need to be. It's about putting yourself first, looking after your needs, sorting out your health issues, then you can look after other people. Because you've been doing it all these years anyway. Yeah. So, any more questions?
Okay, great. Very good questions. We are up. Is it burning or can it? Really?
Thank you so much. That was really good. My quick question is, you talked about the other supplements. When you're on HRT, what happens if you take the ashwagandhas and ETC and all those things? Do they counter-interact or what happens? Oh.
They interfere. They compete for the same receptor sites, and you don't want that.
Okay.
All right. Comfortable?
So thank you very much for your time.
All right, please, let's give, I think, Doctor, just hold on there so that we can reward you. We need to give Dr. Monda her flowers, isn't it? Yes. All right. Big flowers. Search for them. Collect them. Big and plenty. The first one, go. That was not big. Search for it. Okay, a big bouquet, go twice. Okay, we are searching for the third one. Very big bouquet, go. Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much. I run a menopause clinic at the Nairobi Hospital branch in Warwick, so anybody who needs help, feel free to reach out.
Yes, I was actually going to ask if you can leave us where you said Warwick Clinic, the Doctor's Plaza?
Nairobi Hospital branch in Warwick.
Oh, Warwick Plaza.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a clinic, but I don't encourage patients who need perimenopausal and postmenopausal help because I need to take time. I don't want to hurry. So my regular clinic in Upper Hill, I don't want you sitting there you're very busy people. I don't want you sitting there for 2 hours waiting to see me. And then you're there with a 32-year-old who's pregnant. Somebody else has come in with post-CS, you know. So it's just easier for you to come and see me. Call and book an appointment and come and see me in the Warwick branch of Nairobi Hospital. I will leave Rita with some cards, so for those of you who would like to pick a few, you can. And thank you very much for your time.
Right, thank you very much. I think it's good we do a gifting for Dr. Monda and then also for Vicky. So I'll call Liz Duarte. Liz, please come and do the honors for us. Liz. Yes, Doctor. And then Dr. Rose, please come for Vicky. That's for Vicky. Right. So with that, it is 4:25. I think we've done very well on our time. We have tea. Rita, have tea? Do we have tea? Outside the same place we took tea. We request that tomorrow we keep time. Please be here at least by, sorry? Okay, please be here by at least latest 8:45 so that by 9 we kick off. We've settled and kick off. All right, so we'll have our group photo. We've not done a group photo for this year. So just outside there at the stairs, we'll do our group photo, and then we can have tea, we can network, and just enjoy the evening away. Thank you very much for being in attendance day one. Catherine, you want to say something? No?